to the NBA. There's some NBA headlines here. You know, we love to talk about the NBA here. And, of course, the NFL this season is going to be upon us soon. We're going to be talking a lot more NFL as the months roll, right? But today, as far as on the NBA scene, the number one thing that's going on right now is the Zion. Did you see Zion's
No,
recent
what
interview?
happened? No.
So Zion was on Agent Zero. What's our guy?
Gilbert Arenas?
Gilbert Arenas podcast.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was talking. He directly asked him about his diet struggles, and Zion
I thought he
was
was going to ask him about the women.
I'm sure they talked about that too. So he was talking about he opened up on the the difficulty of maintaining his weight, and what he was saying was hey it's a lot of money. I have a lot of money. And it's hard. It's been hard to, do things because you're giving the world. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like you're giving the world financially, and then basically he can eat anything he wants, anytime he wants. And it was really hard to counter that and do the right thing. And now but then, he says now he's following the LeBron method. He got all of the information on what LeBron does, and he's doing that now, so he's going to be in a better place. But I thought that was interesting because I feel like, I know people that are close to the situation, they know what's going on, and then we can see and say, hey, this guy keeps coming in 50 pounds overweight. It must be this. But it was still all technically speculation. We had never really heard from Zion on his struggles and why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I buy it's the money and I could eat whatever I want when I want. It's just a lack of discipline.
Yeah.
I mean, pure and simple. You could chalk it off to the money or not. I mean, reality, he's probably, it would be sitting around eating chips and ice cream if he was on like a undrafted free agent contract.
Right.
Like, it's just self-control of what you're choosing to eat and what you want to eat. If he wasn't even in the league, he'd be eating shitty. I mean, it's just what it is. Like, don't say that, I have money or whatever. I mean, like, what does that equate with? Are you like literally like, going to Ruth Chris every night, and eating 2 entrees?
Here goes the quote. He says, it's hard, man. I'm 20, 22. What happened to 21? But he says, I'm 20, 22, have all the money in the world. Well, it feels like all the money in the world. It's hard. I'm at that point now because of certain things. I'm putting back the wisdom around me. I don't want to say older because guys get defensive, but I'm putting people around me with wisdom, put me on game to certain things, and just go from there. Then you start talking about the LeBron thing. But, yeah, he was just saying, I have all the money in the world. What it feels like is just hard.
Yeah, I just don't see the connection between that and the eating and weight management.
Yeah.
I don't see them as connected. The bigger issue is the lack of self-control, which we talked about last week. That's what that is. It's not the money. Because, like I said, if you were broke, you'd be at Taco Bell, you'd be at McDonald's, you'd be eating chips out of the freaking grocery, out of the convenience store, and still be fat. I mean, that's just what you are until you change that habit, And again, he's a guy who probably never ate well in his life.
Right.
And when I say well, like, he kind of probably just always ate what he wanted to eat. And he was a young guy and super athletic and playing a ton of basketball, and it just kind of wasn't holding him back. Now you reach this point where it is holding you back, and now you got to do something about it. Hopefully he does. I mean, you look at Charles Barkley is a great example. I mean, he was literally looked like his uniform looked like a condom in his first few years, and then by the longer he was in the league, he actually kind of looked like Slim. In some respects, because he realized if I want to have a long career, and he has that story about Moses Malone, telling him he was just a fat kid or whatever it was, but he took it to heart, and this is Zion's opportunity to, take it to heart and realize what it is to be a professional, and make the most out of the career you have in front of you. And I hope he does. I mean, I'm rooting for him to does, but I don't like the mentality that I've seen, and I've already gone on record. The Pelicans wouldn't be wrong to move on from him.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't, but it just depends on what you get for him.
Right now, I mean, for the length of his time in New Orleans, the organization has been a prisoner of him prisoner of his injuries, prisoner of his diet, prisoner of the media around him, and then most recently, last month or so, now they're a prisoner of his poor personal life management. And that's all that has outweighed the basketball that he's played.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. And again, it's a 3 or 4 year body of work in front of us. It is what it is. He has the power to change it. I hope that he does. But if I'm a Pelicans organization, I'm not confident because you have given nothing for me to be confident about as far as your development as a person, as a player, and as a professional.
Absolutely nothing. So, Wemby is being shut down. Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs star rookie. They're shutting him down for the rest of the summer league. What do you think about that there?
I think it's terrible. I really do. This is a guy that I think needs to continue to play some basketball. I think that there's games out there, reps out there to be had during the duration of summer league, and they should let him play and get that experience. There's things you experience in games that you're not going to experience in practice.
Yeah.
By the same token, there's things in practice that you're not going to experience in games, and there's a place for both.
Right.
But to play 2 games and shut it down, like, what are we doing? Players play. And I think that's a thing. I've heard some coaches, I think Jimmy Johnson was a big guy of he wanted guys when he was doing his evaluations that wanted to play as badly as they wanted to breathe. That when, every day playing was a part of what they wanted to do.
Right.
And I don't think you go wrong with those guys. And I don't know what Wemby's mentality is. The limited interviews I've got, he seems like he's up for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I would let him go with that. Now, I mean, if you want to sit him a day and bring him back another game, if he does pick up a mild injury, if there's a reason for it, I understand and I get it. But to play 2 summer league games and just shut it down, why bother? Why did we play any games?
And I think I understand there's the standpoint of he's been playing a shitload of basketball the past few months because of how his season blended into this summer league. But still, man, it's like he's so young. And you see he's still, he has a raw aspect of his game that, you can only iron those things out by playing basketball. And this is a bad sign coming from a team where we know initiated this load management stuff. And you have a star big man, tall man, and it's not a good sign because they're probably going to do this a ton in the regular season.
I really hope they don't. Yeah. But I mean, part of me is very concerned that they will.
Yeah.
And part of it, and we did talk about it during the Sunday show, is that they don't have a ready-to-contend team, and arguably ready to contend even for a playoff spot team. And so, there is going to be a point where you're like, okay, we're just playing games to play games. But, to me, developmentally, play this guy. Go through the bumps, go through the bruises, monitor his body. If he's tired, if he has an injury, I get it. There's got to be a reason, but don't go in with a pre-planned schedule that we're not going to play back-to-backs, or we're going to, take a week of games off in early December, and we'll take another week off at the end of January. Players play, man. That's what they do, and you've got to let them do it. You're doing them a disservice if you don't.
No, that's for sure. Now, there's going to be some rule changes here in the NBA coming up next season. Interesting rule changes. So, of course, every year they try to implement, they get together and they implement different rules. And this year they have the tournament coming in along with these rules. The new rules are there will be a technical foul free throw for flops. And then also there's a second challenge for coaches if the first one is successful, following the NFL model. All right, now the technical foul for flops, that is going to be so god-awful and hard, incredibly hard to manage.
Are these offensive and defensive flops,
yes,
or flop either way?
Flop either way.
Okay.
And if they consider it a flop, you get a technical foul. But here goes the thing. Now you're going to even have you already have too much lobbying to referees as far as, hey man, that was a foul or that wasn't a foul. You have too many players, you know, Luka and LeBron and all these guys come to. It's a few guys on every single team, not to single anybody out because there's a lot of that in the NBA now. To give a team an extra opportunity to get extra points for the other team flopping, you're gonna have people just running up to the ref. That's not a flop, or he really touched me. Or now what? We're gonna stop the game again to go to the camera to review if it was.
I have mixed feelings about this. I'm interested in removing flopping from the game, and one of the ways that you remove something from the game is you make it a competitive disadvantage to engage in it. So I'm okay with that. And I suspect if they do this properly, they're going to be real aggressive at the beginning of the season. Call it a lot. Set the tone, establish the parameters. And then hopefully as the season goes along, it's less and less of an issue because guys recognize I'm not going to get away with that. So why bother? I mean, the thing you got to realize about a flop is that it is an intentional act that a player is committing to in the course of a play. And if he has something else to think about, meaning it's not worth doing this because I could end up giving up technical free throw and whatever, maybe that starts to leave his thought and he's thinking about something else in the moment of the play.
Maybe. I think what's a better, and it's just thinking about it at the top of my head, I think what's a better play is after the game. Like, okay, so the very first thing they tried to do with flops, I don't know if you remember, was they tried to, okay, after the game, we have the league office determine if it was a flop or not, and if it was, we'll fine them. Remember that? That was the very first thing.
I don't remember it, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So they did that for a little while, and then it kind of just went away. Because guys are making millions of dollars. You're going to fine them a few grand. That doesn't mean anything. That's not going to stop it. So I understand this aggressive thinking, but my thing would be, okay, assess it after the game, and if you think if it was a flop, give them a technical foul. Because of course,
but I mean, how do you do that after the game?
No, not a technical foul in the sense of a free throw. A technical foul in the sense of, if you rack up a few.
Yeah, I don't like any of that. See,
you get suspended.
Yeah, and I'm not in. I would eradicate that too. I would
technical fouls for suspension.
Yeah, accumulating technical fouls for suspension. I don't agree with that. I think that's stupid.
Oh, the Draymond thing.
To me, you want to affect the game that it's happening. That's where the high value is. You're trying to win this game in front of us.
That's too much, man.
And if you do the flopping, you're going to get penalized for it. You're not going to get fined after the game. It had no impact on the game. You're not going to get in this position where, 16, 17, 18 fouls later, now you're sitting out a game. I don't like any of that. If guys are healthy, let them play. But, again, control the play of the game by calling some of this and in the moment. Set the parameters, change behavior.
We'll see how that goes. I don't think it can work. I think this is another one that is going to phase out. I just don't think it's a good idea, man. It's going to disrupt the game too much.
But you're kind of talking about the next aspect of it, where the call is made, and then you're kind of concerned about the subsequent arguing and potential review of that call.
Yes,
and that's not good for the game, and I agree with you in that. But there's no other way, in my estimation, other than making this a penalty that affects the competitiveness of the game in the moment, that's going to discourage guys from participating in this behavior. And hopefully, again, the penalty's harsh enough, you remove it. I don't have a problem punishing bad actors. And I really think one of the issues I have with the accumulation of tees is that not all tees are the same. Some, it's just an argument or something. You call somebody a motherfucker, you get teed up. That's not the same as something that's like a vicious violent act on somebody or whatever, and it's that sort of stuff, or something that's dirty or foul. I just don't agree that all tees are the same, and I don't like these accumulating things that just kind of sit over the game in a passive aggressive way. Yeah. Call it when it's there, and we live with the outcome. But I don't have a problem with that. And I actually like number 2 though, the extra review.
I do. I love it.
I think that's excellent. If be rewarded for making a good call.
Yeah, and I was watching some debate show, and both guys hated it, and I was just like, what are you talking about? This is awesome, because I think the worst thing in the NBA, I was watching it last year. Yeah, if a coach gets it right, and another thing, coaches would wait until the late fourth quarter to make a call, but there could be an important swing, early third or late second. Those things matter, and if the referees miss it and the coaches, catch it, they should be able to get a second challenge, man, to just in case something else does happen late in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Reward coaches who are not just challenging things just to challenge it, or just because, Marcus Smart is coming over there for the 1,000th time saying, hey, I really didn't foul that guy. Coaches who really see it, and and challenging the referees on it. Yeah.
No, I agree, and I do think, like, with only one, it's use it or lose it, and the smart play is to hold on to it as long as you can in case something decisive happens in the closing minutes of the game. Yeah. But again, a momentum changing sequence can occur at any point in the game and change the way the game's played. So I think this is an excellent rule. It's good thought behind it, and not a bad job, actually, for me on both, for the competition committee, rules committee.